In 1985, your economy seat had about 34 inches of legroom. Today, major carriers give you 30 to 31 inches. Spirit and Frontier go as low as 28 inches. Seat width dropped from 18 inches to barely 17 inches. 1 inch removed across a fleet can mean millions in revenue. But this is not a simple greed story. What shrank your seat is an economic logic that started with a single law in 1978. Seat pitch is the distance from one point on a seat to the same point on the seat in front of it. In plain English, it is the space you get for your legs, knees, and anything else that needs to fit between your seat and the next row. In the mid-1980s, the average economy seat on a major U.S. carrier offered about 33 or 34 inches of pitch. Today, most big airlines have settled around 30 to 31 inches. On Spirit and Frontier, you are looking at as little as 28 inches. That is a loss of up to 6 inches, half a foot, over a few decades. And no, you are not imagining it. That is enough to add an entire row of seats to a standard narrow-body jet. Width has quietly shrunk too. In 1985, 19-inch seats were common. Now, 17 to 18 inches is the norm, and a few airlines have gone even narrower. That missing inch is the difference between sitting shoulder to shoulder and actually having room to move. The result? The average cabin volume per passenger has dropped by about 30% compared to the pre-deregulation era. That is not just a squeeze, it is a redesign of the flying experience. These numbers are not just trivia for aviation geeks. They are the physical evidence of a shift in how airlines think about every inch of space. The seat itself becomes a clue, pointing straight to a bigger economic puzzle. Why did the industry decide that packing more people into less space was the best way forward? The answer, as it turns out, is not just about greed. It is about a system that rewards density over comfort, and a financial logic that treats every inch as potential revenue. In 1978, Congress did something radical for the airline business. The Airline Deregulation Act swept away decades of control by the Civil Aeronautics Board, which had set fares, picked routes, and decided who could even start an airline. Before deregulation, carriers competed on service and comfort, not price, because the government kept fares high enough for everyone to make a profit. Lawmakers warned on the record that if airlines started battling for the lowest fare, comfort and amenities would be the first casualties. They were right. Once the rules changed, a new breed of airline moved in. Southwest, operating out of Texas, built its entire model around one class of service, quick turnarounds, and squeezing as much flying time as possible out of every plane. No frills, no assigned seats, just relentless efficiency and rock-bottom fares. The formula spread fast. In Europe, Ryanair and EasyJet took the same idea and pushed it even further. Maximum seats per plane, minimum pitch, and a business plan that treated every extra inch of space as lost revenue. Ryanair even floated the idea of standing room sections. And no, I am not making that up. By the 2000s, the template had gone global. Wizz Air, AirAsia, Spirit, and Frontier all embraced the single-class, high-density logic. Spirit and Frontier, for example, routinely install 28-inch pitch, about as tight as you can legally go. Their success did not just create new options for bargain hunters. It put real pressure on legacy airlines. Suddenly, Delta, American, and United could not ignore the economics of density. If they wanted to compete, they had to rethink every square foot of the cabin. The result was a race, not just to the bottom on price, but to the absolute limit of what a seat could be, and still count as a seat. A single economy seat costs the airline somewhere between $4,000 and $10,000 to buy, install, and certify. The seat is built to last, but its value as a product is capped by what passengers will pay for it, usually the lowest fare in the cabin. Now compare that to a business class suite. These private pods with doors, lie-flat beds, and custom lighting run between $60,000 and $100,000 each. They take up more space, but the math works out. A premium ticket can sell for 4 to 6 times the price of a standard economy seat, and the appetite for these tickets keeps growing. The payoff is not theoretical. In the last quarter of 2025, Delta Airlines reported $5.7 billion in premium cabin ticket revenue. For the first time in the company's 100-year history, that number beat the main cabin total, $5.6 billion. That's not just a footnote. It's a sign that the real action is happening at the front of the plane, where every square foot is engineered for maximum yield. Most of those premium fares are not being paid by a broad cross-section of travelers. Delta's own data shows that 95% of its revenue comes from households earning more than $100,000 a year. The product is optimized around the people who can afford to pay for space, privacy, and flexibility. Everyone else is left with the remaining inches in the back, and the system keeps moving more dollars forward. I mean, think about that for a second. The economics of the modern cabin are not just about shrinking seats. They are about where the value goes when it leaves. Discomfort is no longer just a byproduct of flying economy. It is a revenue stream. In 2012, Delta launched Basic Economy, a fare class that stripped away seat selection, flexibility, and even overhead bin access. The official pitch was simple: a cheaper ticket for the budget-minded traveler. But the Senate Commerce Committee saw something else. In a 2018 report, lawmakers described Basic Economy as a deliberate tool to nudge passengers into paying more for regular economy. The restrictions were not just cost-cutting. They were friction, engineered to make the baseline product so unappealing that many would pay extra just to escape it. This logic did not stop at Delta. United, American, and Alaska quickly rolled out their own versions. The system is now familiar to anyone who has tried to buy a ticket. The lowest fare gets you a seat, but almost nothing else. Want to pick where you sit? That is a FEE. Need to check a bag? Another fee. Want to board before the overhead bins fill up? Yet another fee. Each layer of discomfort is priced, and the only way out is to pay your way up. Frontier Airlines has taken this model to its logical extreme. According to its own investor filings, more than half of its passenger revenue, about 55%, comes from ancillary fees. That is not a rounding error. The base fare is just the opening bid. Everything else, from seat choice to water on board, is part of a carefully constructed menu of add-ons. The result is a cabin where discomfort is not accidental, it is the product. And the more people try to avoid it, the more money the airline makes. It is a system that monetizes every friction point, turning the very act of escaping discomfort into a profit center. So if you have ever wondered why the cheapest ticket feels like a trap, it is because by design, it is. There is still no binding federal minimum for how small an airline seat can be. In 2018, Congress told the FAA to study the problem, asking for a rule that would define the minimum space needed for a safe evacuation. Over 26,000 people submitted comments to the FAA's docket, with many pointing out that the official test for seat safety is nothing like a real emergency. The FAA's evacuation drill uses healthy adults, no smoke, no darkness, and no crying children or families trying to move together. The cabin is calm, the lights are on, and the clock starts only when everyone is ready. In the real world, panic, confusion, and obstacles are the rule, not the exception. Yet airlines are still allowed to set seat dimensions based on these idealized conditions. Without a hard legal limit, the pressure to add more seats keeps winning out over comfort or even practical safety. You would think someone would have stepped in by now. But the regulatory vacuum has left the door wide open for seats to keep shrinking, 1 inch at a time. Every seat on a commercial jet is built to a blueprint, but the blueprint itself is stuck in time. The original model for the standard economy seat comes from the early 1960s, when designers assumed a typical passenger was a man standing 5'10" and weighing 180 pounds. Today, the average adult male in the US is closer to 200 pounds, with broader shoulders and a larger frame. Women's averages have climbed too, outpacing the numbers baked into those old measurements. Yet the seat hasn't kept up. Most economy seats are still designed around that outdated body, even as the real passengers have changed. The result? A 17-inch wide seat that barely fits the modern traveler, let alone offers comfort. It is not just a matter of feeling cramped, it is a physical mismatch, one that quietly raises the stakes for anyone who does not fit the mold. Comfort and accessibility become afterthoughts, and the gap between design and reality grows with every flight. Today, airlines treat every inch of cabin space as a revenue calculation. Regulators still have not set a federal minimum for seat size, even as average passenger size grows and premium revenues hit record highs. I mean, think about that for a second. Who gets to decide what comfort is worth?